Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming to our very first facilitators meeting for Connecting Dads, our 6-week dads program. I'm going to begin with some welcomes. So I'm Jamison, I am the creator of Connecting Dads and the head facilitator, and a huge welcome to Andrew and Josh. Thank you guys so much for helping me out with this group. It's amazing to have two male facilitators to ensure male representation within the group and amongst the participants, and even better that you're both dads, you have that lived experience in the community as being fathers and what it takes to be a dad. So thank you guys so much for helping me out. I'm going to begin with what Connecting Dads is all about. So it's a 6-week group for dads with focus on creating connections and expressing emotions in a safe space. It's important for us to remember that this is not a parenting group. We're not saying this is right, this is wrong, this is what you should do as a dad. It's simply a support group with a huge focus on a strengths-based approach, empowering the dads and boosting their confidence in the sense that they're doing an incredible job. So 3 sessions will be completed with the dads and us alone, with planned topics of conversation to promote self-reflection and connectiveness. And then 3 sessions will be accompanied with their children, and we're going to have a lot of fun activities planned to complete with them. I'm just going to talk to why I came up with this idea. So from conception, mothers are inundated with recommendations for so many different support groups and programs focused and tailored to being a mother. And research shows that a significantly lower statistic is portrayed when looking at what's available for solely fathers. And it can be argued that men exclude themselves from parenting groups because they feel as if they're only provided for the best interest of the mother. So then a really interesting stat sort of came about where parenting groups are advertised to both mother and father, but they usually consist of 74% women who attend alone without their partner because of this. With less supports, dads are more likely to experience poor mental health, and as a result of ill mental health, are likely to experience social isolation, and therefore connectiveness in their lives can be impacted with their partner, their children, and friends. So at Connecting Dads, we're aiming on addressing all of these and boosting confidence in these areas. Quickly on advertising, this is the brochure that I've come up with for the group. It has a little spiel about what the group is about, and then date, time, and where. The group begins on Saturday the 15th of January 2022, and it's from 10 till 12, and that will be every week for 6 weeks. At the Broadmeadows office, hopefully the weather improves and we can do it in the outdoor area. I've been putting this up in health clinics and community hubs, and it's also been passed out in schools. And along with this brochure, I'll email you all this presentation so you have this information easily accessible if you need it. I suppose our research question for this group can be, will a support group solely for dads promote increased participation, vulnerability, and connectiveness in males? And this is really what we want to be focusing on and hopefully see improvement in. For Connecting Dads, we're going to be using a participatory active research attempt and approach. This is because it outlines the approach as a multi-step process, and it's got the plan, do, study, act framework, and I really like that because it allows for that replanning cycle to be continual and to recommence each and every week so we can improve every session if it needs to be. And we're going to be doing this replanning cycle through weekly facilitators reflections. This will happen after the group, and we can just have a discussion on what went well, what needed to be improved on, what the connections in the group was like, if there was any friendships forming, and so on. And this is also a great way to promote self-care between the 3 of us as well. Just a note, these sessions will be recorded in a Word document, and they're going to be used to help measure the success of the group each week. Just before we begin the group, we're going to be sending out a link via email to all the participants, and these are lived experience surveys. So these surveys are going to be using that strengths-based approach just to highlight and empower the strengths that they have as dads before they attend the group. They come in feeling empowered and ready to focus on themselves and their mental health. And yeah, it just gives us a good insight to each and every participant before we actually meet them. So these questions will be centered around, have they ever attended groups before? How do you think groups could be more father inclusive? What do you enjoy about being a dad? And so on. Now we're going to quickly do a weekly overview. This is a table that I've created. It just has all the weeks, who's attending, so whether it's dads or the children, the activity for the week, and the goals for each session. We're going to start off going out today with session 1. So session 1 is going to be outdoor in the Broadmeadows office, as I said earlier, and we are going to be doing a prompted conversation this week on gender roles and what it looks like to be a provider. Have they ever thought of themselves as a provider, societal pressures and stereotypes in the community, and their overall experience of parenthood, and just also bring into discussion why they decided to attend this group. The whole aim of this is to promote conversation and connections between the participants. So I've added as a tip down the bottom that if the conversation is heading into a new direction, we can walk away and allow the participants time to connect. Here's a quick look at our group goals. So this is what we're going to be working on each and every session. Breaking down gender roles, normalization of mental health, emotional responses, creation of friendships, connectiveness, and attachment and bonding. Obviously, in a group setting, it's important that we address power, ethics, and culture. How we're addressing power, it's great we have 2 male facilitators alongside myself. So the power in the room is kind of neutral and gender roles are represented within the space. As well, we want to ensure that shift of power happens in the room. I think when people attend facilitated groups, they look at the facilitators as being, teachers, and we're telling them what to do in sort of like a school setting, but that's not what we're doing here. We're there to simply create a safe space, promote conversation, and mediate if need be. So it's important that if conversation is heading into a great direction, that we do step back and allow for that shift of power to happen. A culture, I think in session 1 it's really important we come up with a group conduct. It promotes empowerment within participants and it shows that we care about their safety and their values and we respect them in that space. So getting everybody to place their input into what they think needs to be said in terms of creating a safe space is really important, and this can be centered on culture as well. We can also invite participants to introduce their culture when we do the weekly Welcome to Country. And I think the participatory active research approach we're using is also a great cultural inclusive approach because it allows the use for interpreters and to work around different cultures and language barriers that may arise. So that's culture. Quickly, ethics, we're going to be obviously enforcing confidentiality. What is said in the room stays in the room. We want a safe space for information storing. Self-determination is probably one of the main goals of the group. We want to prioritize participants' best interests and make sure they feel empowered in each session. And professional integrity is also key for us. It's important that we want to show the participants that we are human and we can relate to their lived experiences in a sense, but keeping that professional boundary is very important. Lastly, here are some references that have helped guide and create this group, and I'm going to pass it on to you guys. If you have any questions, we can chat about what's coming up in the next 6 weeks. So thank you all very much for tuning in.